The moment the lights died at the witch's ball, Ethan Vale had exactly 11 minutes left to live. He just didn't know it yet. Neither did the 200 guests in masks and Victorian gowns, laughing over champagne and candlelight. Neither did the woman who'd poisoned his glass 3 minutes earlier and disappeared into the crowd. But I knew. The second his body hit the floor and my hands found his chest, the second I smelled bitter almonds beneath the mulled wine and perfume, I knew someone had just tried to murder my ex-fiancé in a room full of witnesses, and I was the only person who could stop them. My name is Dr. Lucia Moreau. 5 years ago, Ethan Vale ended our engagement with a 3-sentence text message. I spent those 5 years building a life where I never had to see him again. Then fate, or something far more sinister, put me 20 feet away when his heart stopped beating. They say you should never treat someone you love. But what about someone you used to love? Someone who broke your heart so thoroughly you fled to another city just to escape the memories. I had 30 seconds to decide. Let someone else take over and watch him die in the chaos, or break every professional boundary I'd sworn to maintain and fight for his life with my own hands. I chose to fight. I didn't know that decision would uncover a conspiracy worth $400 million. I didn't know the person who poisoned him was standing in that ballroom, watching me desperately try to save him. And I definitely didn't know that bringing Ethan back from the dead would put a target on my back so big, it would nearly cost me everything I'd spent 5 years building. This is the story of the night I restarted my ex-fiancé's heart, and the night someone decided we both needed to stop breathing. The St. Mercy Orphanage Witches' Ball transformed Salem's oldest brick hall into something between Victorian seance and modern gala. Candelabras dripped wax onto velvet tablecloths. Guests wore elaborate masks, ravens, cats, crescent moons, their silks rustling against the October chill that crept through the tall windows. The air smelled of mulled wine and old wood, with a sharp note of cinnamon from the dessert table. Dr. Lucia Moreau stood near the coat check, clinical white beneath her tailored black gown, gripping her phone like a lifeline. She'd arrived 40 minutes late from Massachusetts Heart Center, still wearing her hospital ID on a lanyard tucked inside her clutch. The invitation had come from the hospital's development director. Philanthropist sponsoring tonight's fundraiser wants to meet our top cardiologist. Professional obligation, nothing more. She scanned the crowd for whoever was funding the orphanage's new medical wing, hoping to shake hands, smile politely, and leave before anyone recognized her. Salem was small. 5 years wasn't long enough to erase certain faces from collective memory. A server approached with champagne. Lucia declined, checking her pager out of habit. Still on call, always on call. The lights died with theatrical precision at 9:47 p.m. Lucia would remember the timestamp on her phone forever. The ballroom plunged into darkness. Someone shrieked, glass shattered. Then came the distinctive thud of a body hitting hardwood, different from stumbling or theatrical fainting. Her medical training kicked in before conscious thought. "Back up, give him space," a woman's voice commanded from the center of the room. Lucia pushed through the crowd, her eyes adjusting to the faint glow of emergency exit signs. A circle of guests with phone flashlights formed around a man collapsed near the main stage. Navy suit, broad shoulders, one arm twisted beneath him. She knelt, fingers already reaching for his carotid. Nothing. Jaw tense, skin cool. She tilted his head back, checked for airway obstruction, clear, and started chest compressions. Hard, fast, counting under her breath. 30 compressions. 2 rescue breaths. Repeat. "Someone find the AED," she shouted. "Now!" A phone light swung toward her face. The woman holding it gasped. "Lucia!" She didn't look up. Couldn't. But she knew that voice. Amanda Cartwright, Ethan's executive assistant, which meant her hands faltered for half a second as the man's face came into focus. Sharp jawline, dark hair silver at the temples now. Ethan Vale, billionaire venture capitalist, philanthropist, ex-fiancé who'd ended their engagement via text message 5 years ago while she was studying for her boards. Lucia's chest tightened, but her hands kept moving. 30 compressions. Breathe. 30 more. "Where's the defibrillator?" she demanded. "The power's out," Amanda stammered. "Security's checking the backup generator." I don't need a generator. I need a portable AED. This size has one. Find it. The crowd shifted. Someone started filming. Lucia blocked it out, counting compressions, feeling for any change in resistance under her palms. Come on, come back. As her hands pressed against Ethan's sternum, his silver medical alert bracelet slipped forward. Lucia's nose caught something wrong beneath the mulled wine and perfume. A bitter almond scent, faint but distinct. Her pulse spiked. That smell didn't belong at a charity ball. It belonged in toxicology lectures. Found it! A security guard burst through the crowd, portable AED in hand. Lucia grabbed it, ripped open Ethan's shirt, mother-of-pearl buttons scattering across the floor, and slapped the pads onto his chest. The device powered on with a reassuring beep. Analyzing rhythm. Everyone held their breath. Shock advised. Clear! She hit the button. Ethan's body jerked. The AED resumed analysis. No pulse yet. She went back to compressions, muscles burning now. Someone handed her a makeshift mask, a silk handkerchief folded over Ethan's mouth for rescue breaths. She took it, grateful, and continued the cycle. Around them, the crowd had split into factions. A group of influencers near the dessert table began lighting candles, arranging them in a circle, murmuring about healing energy and manifesting life force. Under different circumstances, Lucia might have laughed. Right now, she needed that light. Amanda, she said between compressions, voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her system. Tell me everything. Any medical conditions, medications, allergies? Amanda crouched beside her, phone flashlight steady. He's been under a cardiologist's care since last year. Occasional arrhythmia, takes beta blockers. Which cardiologist? Dr. Reeves at Boston General. Not her hospital. That was something. Lucia refocused on the rhythm. 30 compressions. 2 breaths. Nothing yet. When did he last eat or drink? She asked. Champagne at 9:30. He was talking to the mayor when... Amanda's voice cracked. The AED beeped again. Analyzing. Lucia cleared everyone back and delivered the second shock. This time, Ethan's chest rose on its own. Shallow but present. She felt for his carotid. There. Thready, irregular, but beating. Relief crashed through her, followed immediately by clinical assessment. He wasn't stable yet. Blood pressure likely tanking. Possible cardiac event, possible poisoning. That almond smell. Someone call 911, she ordered. Tell them possible toxic exposure. Patient revived post-cardiac arrest. Needs immediate transport. Amanda pulled out her phone, fingers shaking. They're already on their way. The power outage triggered an automatic alert. The lights flickered back on. Harsh fluorescence shocked the ballroom into sharp relief. Guests blinked, masks askew. The romantic mystery. Lucia found herself kneeling in a pool of spilled wine and melted wax, hands still on Ethan's chest, hair falling from its pins. He opened his eyes. Gray, unfocused, searching. They landed on her face. Recognition flickered. She couldn't hear over the sudden buzz of conversation, the wail of approaching sirens. Stay still, she told him. Professional distance back in place. Ambulance is coming, but his bracelet caught her eye again. She lifted his wrist, pretending to check his pulse while actually examining the engraving. Ethan S. Vale. Blood type O+. Emergency contact, Vanguard Trust, 617-555-0147. Not a family member, not Amanda. A trust. The bracelet's clasp was scratched, fresh marks against old silver. Someone had taken it off recently and put it back on. Efficient chaos. Stretcher, monitors, oxygen. Lucia briefed them in clipped medical terminology, standing back as they took over. Hands on someone's offered napkin, suddenly aware of the cameras pointed her direction. Phone cameras, a local news crew that had been covering the gala. Dr. Moreau. A reporter thrust a microphone forward. You just saved Ethan Vale's life. How does it feel? She opened her mouth to deflect when Amanda stepped smoothly between them. Dr. Moreau performed her professional duty with extraordinary skill. Mr. Vale's family will release a statement through proper channel. Her tone could have frozen the champagne fountain. The reporter retreated. Amanda turned to Lucia, expression carefully neutral. Thank you, truly. Whatever history you two have. No history that matters right now, Lucia cut in. He needs a full toxicology screen. That collapse wasn't just cardiac. I smelled bitter almonds near his mouth. Amanda's face went pale. You think someone poisoned him? I think the hospital will determine cause. But yes, I'd bet money on it. Lucia pulled out her phone, scrolling for the ER attending's number at Salem Hospital. I'm riding with him. Someone needs to ensure they run the right panels immediately. You're still on call at Mass Heart? I'll handle it. The paramedics loaded Ethan onto the stretcher. His eyes tracked Lucia's movement, more alert now. She avoided his gaze, climbing into the ambulance and positioning herself out of his direct line of sight. This was medicine, not personal. Never personal again. The ambulance doors slammed shut. Through the window, she watched the ballroom crowd fragment, some following the stretcher, others clustering around the makeshift candle circle, a few gravitating toward the mayor for comment. The influencers were already filming recap videos. Inside the ambulance, the lead paramedic, tag read J. Morrison, glanced at her. You're the heart specialist from Mass Heart Center. Heard you're good. Just thorough. She studied the monitor, stabilizing at 82, still irregular. Blood pressure 110/70. Better than 5 minutes ago. Run a 12 lead when we arrive, and tell them I suspect cyanide exposure. Morrison's eyebrows shot up. That's specific. That's what almonds smell like when they're not almonds. Ethan's hand moved, fumbling for something. Lucia leaned forward instinctively, then stopped herself. Morrison adjusted the oxygen mask instead. You're okay, Mr. Vale, but Ethan kept reaching, his gaze locked on Lucia. Finally, his fingers found the edge of her sleeve. She didn't pull away. Couldn't, with Morrison watching. Ethan's lips moved behind the mask, words lost in plastic and oxygen flow. She met his eyes for the first time in 5 years. Gray storm clouds, questions and something else. Fear, gratitude. She couldn't parse it, didn't want to. You're going to be fine, she repeated, professional mask firmly in place. Salem Hospital has excellent emergency care. His grip tightened, weakly but deliberate. Then his eyes rolled back and the monitor screamed. As Ethan coded again, Lucia caught Morrison's worried glance at the bracelet, the one with the trust's number, not family. Morrison knew something. The paramedic's expression wasn't just concern, it was recognition. Lucia shocked him back twice more before the ambulance reached Salem Hospital. And each time she brought him back, Morrison watched her with growing respect mixed with something else. Curiosity, maybe, or suspicion. The ER team met them at the bay doors. Dr. Yates, attending physician, took one look at Ethan and barked orders. Trauma 2, I want a full cardiac panel, tox screen, and get poison control on the line. Already called them, Lucia said, peeling off her gloves. Suspected cyanide exposure. Patient collapsed at 9:47 p.m. during a power outage at the St. Mercy Gala. Initial presentation. Sudden cardiac arrest. No prior symptoms reported. Revived twice on scene, coded again in transit. Yates nodded, scanning Ethan's chart. You're Moreau from Mass Heart? Amanda Cartwright called ahead. Said you'd be riding along. His eyes narrowed slightly. Also said you have history with the patient. 5 years ago. Not relevant to his care. Everything's relevant when we're talking potential homicide. Yates gestured toward the waiting area. Detectives are already here. Power outage at a charity gala, billionaire collapses, poison suspected. They're treating this as attempted murder until proven otherwise. Lucia's stomach dropped. Of course they were. She glanced through the trauma room window where nurses cut away the rest of Ethan's clothing, attached monitors, started IVs. His eyes were closed now, sedated, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen him. I need to give a statement, she said, after I get your medical assessment on record. Yates pulled out a tablet. Walk me through everything you observed. Start with the smell. She did, clinical and precise. The bitter almond scent, the scratched bracelet clasp, the timing of the collapse, exactly when the lights failed. the champagne he'd consumed 30 minutes before. Yates typed rapidly, occasionally asking clarifying questions. He said finally, "You think someone tampered with it?" "I think someone wanted access to his skin. Cyanide absorbs through contact. A coating on the inner surface of the bracelet could deliver a lethal dose over time, accelerated by body heat and the champagne thinning his blood." Yates looked up sharply. "That's incredibly specific." "That's my job." Lucia crossed her arms. "I've seen one cyanide case in my career. Industrial accident. Same smell, same presentation, but that was ingestion. This feels more sophisticated." Sophisticated enough to rig a power outage as cover? She hadn't thought that far yet. The implications made her skin cold. You'd need access to the building's electrical system, knowledge of when Ethan would be standing in that exact spot, and either very good luck or inside information about his medical vulnerability. A detective appeared in the hallway. Late 30s, sharp suit, badge clipped to his belt. "Dr. Moreau, Detective Chen, I need to ask you some questions about tonight." Lucia followed him to a small consultation room. Chen settled into a chair, pulled out a notebook. "You were first on scene when Ethan Vale collapsed. Tell me what you saw before that moment." "I arrived late, around 9 p.m. Stayed near the coat check. Didn't interact with anyone except a server who offered champagne." "Did you see Mr. Vale before the lights went out?" "No." "When's the last time you two spoke?" There it was. Lucia kept her expression neutral. 5 years ago. We were engaged. He ended it. I moved to Boston for my residency. We haven't been in contact since." Chen wrote something down. "Yet here you are, at a gala he's sponsoring, in a town you left 5 years ago." "My hospital director invited me. Professional obligation. I didn't know Ethan would be here." That was almost true. She'd suspected but hadn't confirmed. Convenient timing. Lucia's jaw tightened. "Are you suggesting I had something to do with this?" "I'm suggesting it's odd that the one person in that ballroom with the medical knowledge to both poison someone with cyanide and save them from cyanide poisoning happens to be the victim's ex-fiancé." Chen's voice stayed level, almost friendly. "Just trying to understand the coincidences." Before she could respond, Amanda burst into the room, phone in hand. "Detective, I have the security footage from the ballroom. You need to see this," and stood immediately. Lucia followed, pulse hammering. The three of them crowded around Amanda's phone. The video showed the ballroom from a ceiling-mounted camera, time-stamped 9:35 p.m. Ethan stood near the stage, talking to an older man in formal robes, the mayor. They shook hands. Ethan smiled, reached for a champagne flute from a passing server's tray. The server's face was partially hidden by a raven mask, but her build was wrong. Too thin. Wrong hair color visible beneath the costume. Amanda paused the video, zoomed in. "That's not one of the catering staff. We have a complete roster. No one matches this description." Chen leaned closer. "It's working on it, but look." Amanda advanced the video frame by frame. The fake server's hand hovered over Ethan's glass for just a second as she handed it to him. A tiny vial appeared in her palm, tipped, disappeared. She dosed the champagne right there and Lucia's chest constricted. Professional, calculated, bold. Whoever wanted Ethan dead had walked into a crowded gala and poisoned him in plain sight. Timestamp shows 9:36 p.m., Chen noted. He collapsed at 9:47, 11 minutes for the poison to take effect. Consistent with cyanide ingestion, Lucia confirmed. Fast-acting but not instant. She'd need to time it with the power outage for maximum chaos. Which means she either controlled the outage or had a partner who did, hardened. This wasn't opportunistic, this was planned. Amanda's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, face draining of color. The Trust. Vanguard Trust just released a statement to the press. They're claiming Ethan's death. She looked up, stricken. They think he's dead. They've already started liquidating his assets. He's not dead, Lucia said flatly. He's sedated in trauma too, with a pulse of 78 and stable vitals. Amanda's hands shook. They don't know that. The media's reporting his collapse. Someone at the gala leaked footage of you doing CPR. Social media's exploding. Vanguard must have seen it and assumed, or they know exactly what they're doing. Chen grabbed the phone, scrolled through the trust's statement. This is a legal maneuver. If Ethan's declared dead, his assets transfer to the trust immediately. By the time anyone corrects the record, the money's moved. That's fraud, Amanda protested. That's financial murder, Lucia. How long until he wakes up? Depends on the sedation protocol, could be hours. She thought fast. But we can prove he's alive right now. Get a doctor to certify his status, release it to the press, freeze the trust's actions before they disappear with $3 billion? Chen was already dialing. I'm calling the DA. This just became a conspiracy. Amanda sank into a chair, phone still displaying the trust statement. Lucia read over her shoulder. The language was carefully crafted, with deep regret and tragic loss and honoring his philanthropic legacy. But beneath it lay something colder. Numbers. Account transfers. A timeline that suggested they'd prepared How long has this trust controlled Ethan's emergency contact? Lucia asked quietly. Amanda looked up, eyes red. About something. Said it was simpler than dealing with distant. The trust manages his charitable foundation's investment portfolios. She trailed off, realization dawning. They've been positioning themselves as his legal heirs. Did he have a will? Yes. Everything goes to the orphanage foundation and a few educational charities. The trust was supposed to execute it, not benefit from it. Amanda's voice hardened. They're stealing from sick children. Lucia's anger crystallized into something sharp and clear. This wasn't just about Ethan, wasn't about their past or the text message that ended their engagement or the 5 years she'd spent proving she didn't need him. Someone had tried to murder a man whose only crime was having too much money and too much trust in the wrong people. Dr. Yates appeared in the doorway. Lab results are back, cyanide confirmed. Sublethal dose, but he would have died without immediate intervention. He glanced at Lucia. You saved his life. Twice, according to Morrison. Can we wake him? Chen asked. His heart's still recovering. We need another 6 hours minimum before. We don't have 6 hours, Amanda interrupted. She held up her phone again, a new message displayed. The trust just filed an emergency petition with probate court. They're requesting immediate transfer of assets based on incapacitation. They're arguing that even if Ethan survives, brain damage from cardiac arrest makes him legally incompetent. Lucia felt something snap inside her. That's medically unfounded. He was without oxygen for less than 3 minutes. I maintained compressions the entire time. There's no indication of hypoxic injury. Can you prove that? Chen pressed. Not without a full neurological assessment, which requires him to be conscious. She looked at Yates. What if we reduce sedation gradually? Enough for him to respond to commands, prove cognitive function, but not enough to stress his cardiac system. Yates, if he becomes agitated, I'll monitor him personally. If his vitals destabilize, we sedate him again immediately. Lucia met his eyes. But if we don't do this now, those people will steal it. Stop them. Amanda stood. I'll file a counterpetition, but I need medical evidence that Ethan's competent, something I can present to a judge in the next 2 hours. Chen, and I need a statement from him about who he saw, what he drank, anything he remembers before collapsing. That fake server might still be in Salem. Yates sighed, the sound of a man overruled by necessity. Fine. But this stays between us. If administration finds out I'm waking a poisoning victim for legal testimony, they won't, Chen assured him. This is an active criminal investigation. Patient safety and justice. They moved as a unit toward Trauma 2. The window, Lucia could see Ethan on the gurney, monitors beeping steadily, IV drips regulated by automatic pumps. Peaceful. Safe. For now. But beyond this hospital, in boardrooms and law offices, people who'd tried to kill him were already counting his money. The power outage hadn't been about darkness. It had been about creating chaos, confusion, the perfect cover for both murder and theft. Someone knew Ethan's medical history, knew his schedule, knew exactly how to make his death look natural until it was too late to stop them. Yates adjusted the sedation drip. Starting reduction now. Should take about 20 minutes for him to reach responsive consciousness. Amanda positioned herself at the foot of the bed, tablet ready to record. Chen stood by the door, phone in hand, coordinating with the DA's office, and Lucia pulled a chair to Ethan's bedside, professional distance dissolving into something more complicated. His hand lay across his chest, fingers loose. She remembered those hands, how they'd held hers during medical school stress, how they'd fumbled with an engagement ring in a restaurant too fancy for students, how they'd typed out a breakup text rather than face her in person. 5 years of anger. 5 years of building a life that didn't need him. And now she was the only thing standing between him and the people who wanted him erased. His eyelids fluttered slightly, heart rate increasing from 78 to 85. Consciousness returning. Lucia leaned forward. Medical Ethan, she said quietly. If you can hear me, squeeze my hand. With surprising strength. His eyes opened. Gray, confused, searching. Ignition flooded his expression. His lips moved, voice rough from intubation. Lucia? Don't try to talk yet, she murmured. But he was already pushing through, words thick and determined. You came back. Not the statement she'd expected, not what happened or where am I, but something that felt like relief, like he'd been waiting 5 years for this exact moment. Mr. Vale, I know this is disorienting, but we have a serious situation. The trust, Vanguard Trust, they're claiming you're dead or incapacitated. They're moving your assets right now. Ethan's grip on Lucia's hand tightened. His gaze shifted to Amanda, sharpening into focus. Vanguard, I fired them 3 weeks ago. The room went silent. Chen stepped forward. Say that again? I terminated the trust agreement, found discrepancies in the foundation accounts. Money disappearing, fake receipts, vendors that don't exist. Ethan's voice gained strength, anger burning through the fog. I confronted the senior trustee, Marcus Vanguard, told him I was going to the authorities. He said I'd regret it. Amanda's face went white. You didn't tell me. I didn't tell anyone. Thought I was being paranoid. Ethan looked back at Lucia. The champagne. Someone put something in it, didn't they? She nodded. Cyanide. You were poisoned at the gala. The power outage was cover. Marcus was there tonight. Saw him talking to the mayor before. He stopped, memory clicking. He handed me that champagne. Said it was from the special reserve the venue was serving to sponsors. Chen was already on his phone, issuing orders. Get units to Marcus Vanguard's residence and office. Consider it fake server from the security footage. She's likely an accomplice. Lucia felt Ethan's pulse jump beneath her fingers. Stay calm. Your heart's. The words came out flat, disbelieving. Over money. $1 billion, Amanda corrected grimly. And they almost succeeded. If Dr. Moreau hadn't been there, if Lucia hadn't been there, I'd be in a morgue right now. Ethan's eyes found hers again, something raw and vulnerable breaking through. You saved my life after everything I... His voice cracked. I don't deserve it. She wanted to pull away, wanted to retreat into professional distance armor, but his hand in hers felt real, human, breakable in ways that had nothing to do with poison or cardiac arrest. You don't get to die before I tell you exactly what I think of that breakup text, she said, voice steady despite the chaos in her chest. So you're going to rest, recover, and testify against these people. Then we'll talk. The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. Is that a promise? That's a doctor's order. The hospital moved Ethan to a private room on the 3rd floor at midnight. Outside, blinds drawn, phone confiscated. Detective Chen's orders. Until they located Marcus Vanguard and the fake server, Ethan remained a target. Lucia stayed, told herself it was medical necessity. Someone needed to monitor for delayed cardiac symptoms. Yates bought it or pretended to. Either way, she found herself in a chair beside Ethan's bed as Salem slept outside the window, her hospital badge still clipped to her gown. You changed your hair, Ethan said suddenly. His voice was stronger now, the sedation fully worn off. It's shorter. She touched the ends self-consciously. 4 years ago. Easier to manage during long shifts. It suits you. He shifted against the pillows, wincing. Everything suits you. The confidence, the competence, the way you walked into that ballroom like you owned it. I was terrified, she admitted before she could stop herself. Salem has memories. I spent 5 years avoiding this place. Because of me. Because of us. I wasn't just your ex-fiancé running away. I was a medical student who chose her career over a relationship that was already dying. The text just made it official. Ethan's jaw tightened. That text was the worst thing I've ever done. Not ending it. We both knew it wasn't working. But the cowardice. Typing words instead of facing you. Why? The question came out sharper than intended. You owed me a conversation. 5 years together, and I got 3 sentences on a screen. He looked away, focusing on the IV drip. Because looking at you would have changed my mind, and I was terrified you'd sacrifice your residency for me. You'd already delayed applications twice because of my travel schedule. If I'd asked you to stay one more time, I would have said no. Lucia's voice softened despite the old anger. Ethan. I was 26. Ambitious. Wanted cardiology, wanted Boston General, wanted to prove I could succeed without anyone's help, including yours. I know. That's why I couldn't risk asking. Thought the text would make. He met her eyes. Thought you'd hate me enough to leave without looking back. I did hate you. Past tense, she realized. Somewhere between the ballroom floor and this quiet room, the hate had dissolved into something more complicated. For about 3 years, then I got too busy saving other people's lives to keep relitigating ours. A smile ghosted across his face. How many lives? Hundreds. Maybe thousands if you count the ones I helped train residents to save. She straightened in the chair. I'm good at my job, Ethan. One of the best cardiologists under 40 on the East Coast. I didn't need you to become that. His hand moved across the blanket, but I needed to know you'd become it without me holding you back. Even if that meant being the villain in your story. The words hung between them. Outside, a siren wailed past. Ambulance, police, fire, impossible to tell. Inside, machines beeped their steady rhythm. Proof of life. Proof of time still ticking forward. Lucia's phone buzzed. Amanda's name on the screen. She answered, putting it on speaker so Ethan could hear. Judge granted an emergency injunction, Amanda said, breathless with relief. All asset transfers frozen pending investigation, and Chen's team found something at Marcus Vanguard's office. A ledger. Handwritten, dates back 18 months. He's been siphoning money from the foundation using shell companies. How much? Ethan asked. 12 million so far. Papers rustled on Amanda's end. The ledger has notes about your medical history. He knew about the arrhythmia, knew you took beta blockers, even knew you'd be at the gala tonight because you personally confirmed with the orphanage director. Lucia's stomach clenched. He planned this for months. At least. The fake server? Security identified her from enhanced footage. Catherine Vance, Marcus's personal assistant. She disappeared from her apartment around 10 p.m. Police have an APB out. Ethan's face had. Marcus sat with my mother during her final days. Helped me arrange her funeral. I trusted him with everything. Which is why he knew exactly how to destroy you. Amanda interrupted gently. He had access, motive, opportunity. The perfect inside man. I'm sorry, Ethan. After she hung up, silence settled heavy. Lucia watched Ethan process betrayal layered on top of attempted murder. His hands clenched the blanket, knuckles white. I'm good at reading people, he said finally. Built a career on knowing who to trust, who to invest in, who's lying, and I missed this completely. You trusted someone who spent years earning it. That's not failure, that's human. Marcus is a sociopath, he counted on your trust. He almost killed me. Would have if you hadn't. Ethan turned his palm up, fingers threading through hers. Lucia, you could have walked away after the ambulance. Let other doctors handle it. I'm your cardiologist now, whether you like it or not. And if I like it very much? The question carried weight beyond medicine. She should pull away. Should reinforce boundaries. Should remember the 3 years of hate in the text message that still lived in her phone's archive because she'd never quite managed to delete it. Instead, she squeezed his hand. Then you're going to, starting with, get some rest. Tomorrow you're giving a full deposition to the DA and you need to be sharp. Will you be here when I wake up? She should say no. Should go back to Boston, to her own hospital, to the life she'd built without him. Should let someone else monitor his recovery. Yes, she said. I'll be here. His eyes drifted closed, exhaustion finally winning. But his hand stayed in hers, warm and alive, pulse steady against her. Lucia settled into the chair, watching the monitors, thinking about second chances and the strange mathematics of timing. 5 years ago, they'd been wrong for each other. Tonight, in a hospital room with murder conspiracies and frozen assets, maybe they were finally right. Dawn broke gray over Salem. Lucia woke to find Ethan watching her, expression unreadable. You stayed all night, he said. Someone had to make sure you didn't code again. She stretched, vertebrae popping. Her gown was wrinkled, mascara probably smudged. Very professional. How do you feel? Like I got poisoned and shocked back to life 3 times. He shifted carefully, testing his body's limits. But alive. Remarkably alive, orange juice, toast. Hospital food in all its bland glory. Ethan eyed it with suspicion. It's not poisoned, Lucia assured him. I watched them prepare it. You've been monitoring my food? Someone tried to kill you 12 hours ago. I'm monitoring everything. She pulled out her phone, showing him the schedule she'd created. Meal times, medication windows, visitor clearances. Nothing happens without my approval. Something shifted in his expression. Softness mixed with something deeper. You're protecting me. I'm ensuring patient safety. There's a difference. Is there? He set the juice aside, focus entirely on her now. Lucia, you don't owe me this. Don't owe me anything after what I... Stop. She held up a hand. This isn't about debt or obligation. You're my patient. That means I protect you until you're discharged. Basic Hippocratic oath. And after discharge? The question hung unanswered as Detective Chen arrived, tablet in hand, looking like he hadn't slept either. Mr. Vale, Dr. Moreau, we've got developments. He pulled up security footage from the gala, different angle than before, showing the moments before the power outage. Marcus Vanguard stood near the electrical panel in the service corridor, phone to his ear. Timestamp, 9:44 p.m. 3 minutes before the lights failed, Chen narrated. We pulled his phone records. He called a prepaid burner at exactly this moment. The same burner received a text from Catherine Vance's phone at 9:38 p.m., right after she handed Ethan the poisoned champagne. They were coordinating, Lucia said. Down to the second. Marcus cuts the power, creates chaos, Vance disappears in the confusion. By the time anyone notices, Ethan's dead, and she's gone. Chen swiped to another image. Except here's where it gets interesting. We tracked the burner's signal. It pinged off a cell tower near Boston Logan Airport at 2 a.m., then went dark. She fled the country, Ethan concluded. Tried to. TSA flagged her at the international terminal. She was using a fake passport heading to the Cayman Islands. Chen smiled minutes ago. She's in federal custody and she's talking. Amanda burst in before anyone could respond, face flushed with victory. The DA's offering her immunity in exchange for testimony against Marcus. She's giving them everything. The shell companies, the forged receipts, offshore accounts. Ethan, they found $70 million. Not 12. The number landed like a physical blow. Ethan's face went pale. That's most of the foundation's endowment. The orphanage, the scholarships, the medical research grants. All stolen systematically over 2 years. Amanda sat on the edge of the bed, tablet displaying spreadsheets. Vance kept copies. She was documenting everything, probably planning to blackmail Marcus eventually. Instead, she became his accomplice in murder. Why? Lucia asked. If she had evidence of his crimes, why not just report him? He was paying her, $5 million in a numbered account, to be released after Ethan's death was confirmed. She wasn't a reluctant accomplice. She was a hired assassin who got greedy. Ethan's hand found the blanket, gripping tight. Lucia covered it with hers instinctively. He looked at her, something breaking in his eyes. Those scholarships were my mother's legacy. She grew up in the St. Mercy orphanage. Every dollar I put into that foundation was meant to give kids the chances she never had. His voice cracked. And Marcus stole it, stole from children who have nothing. We'll get it back, Amanda promised. The accounts are frozen. The DA's working with international authorities. Every dollar will be recovered and returned. But the time lost, kids who needed scholarships this year, medical procedures that got delayed because funding disappeared. Ethan's chest heaved, monitor spiking. People suffered because I trusted the wrong person. Breathe, Lucia commanded, hand on his shoulder. Slow, steady breaths. You're not responsible for his crimes. I'm responsible for not seeing them sooner. You're human. She made him look at her, fingers on his jaw. You're allowed to trust people, allowed to believe they're good until proven otherwise. Marcus weaponized that trust. That's on him, not you. Lucia's right, Chen added. You're a victim here, Mr. Vale. And thanks to Dr. Moreau's quick thinking and Vance's documentation, we have an airtight case. Marcus will spend the rest of his life in prison. Have you found him? Ethan asked. Chen's expression went carefully neutral. Not yet. He withdrew $500,000 in cash from a private account yesterday afternoon. Before the gala, he was preparing to run. So he's gone. We have alerts at every border, airport, train station, his photos circulating to law enforcement nationwide. He won't get, but Chen's tone suggested less certainty than his words. After he left, Amanda updated them on the legal proceedings, emergency hearings, asset recovery timelines, media statements. The story had exploded overnight. Billionaire poisoned at charity ball. Ex-fiancé saves his life. Trust conspiracy uncovered. Every news outlet wanted interviews. I've declined them all, Amanda said firmly. Your privacy is paramount right now. What about the foundation's reputation? Ethan asked. Donors will panic. They'll think their money was stolen too. I'm releasing a statement this afternoon. Full transparency about Marcus's crimes. Assurances. Amanda's efficiency was impressive. The orphanage director is supportive. The mayor's backing you publicly. This will blow over. After she left, Lucia checked Ethan's vitals. Heart rate elevated but stable. Blood pressure good. No signs of delayed toxicity. Physically, he was healing. Emotionally, remained to be seen. I need to ask you something, he said quietly. Last night, when I woke up and saw you there, why did you really stay? She could deflect, return to professional boundaries, pretend the hand-holding was just comfort, nothing more. Instead, she told the truth. Because 5 years ago, I lost you, and last night, when your heart stopped under my hands, I realized I never stopped. She caught herself, the admission too raw. I never stopped caring if you lived or died. Even when I hated you. Even when I spent years building a life without you. Some part of me still. He kissed her. Gentle, careful, mindful of the IV and monitors. His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. When he pulled back, his eyes held everything they'd left he whispered, wondering what we could have been if I'd been braver. We were kids, 26 and stupid and terrible at communication. And now? Now she was 31, chief cardiology resident, respected, accomplished, independent. Now he was 33, philanthropist who'd nearly died because of his own generosity. Now they had perspective, scars, and a second chance neither had expected. It's slow, she said, at Marcus's trial. We figure out if this, she gestured between them, is real or just adrenaline and unfinished business. It's real. No hesitation. It's always been real. We just had terrible timing. Then let's get the timing right this time. She kissed him again, brief and promising. Starting with you eating that oatmeal before it gets cold. Doctor's orders. His laugh was the best sound she'd heard in 5 years. At 2 p.m. while Lucia was reviewing Ethan's discharge paperwork. Unknown number. Single line. He should have stayed dead. She showed it to Detective Chen immediately. He traced the number, another burner, location unknown. Vance was in custody. Marcus was in the wind, which meant someone else was involved. Could be a bluff, Chen suggested. Someone trying to scare you. Or it's a genuine threat. Lucia looked toward Ethan's room, where he was meeting with the DA. We need increased security. Moreau, you should go back to Boston. Let us handle this. You've done your part. She should. Every logical cell in her body screamed to leave. But logic hadn't kept her here last night, and it wouldn't drive her away now. I'm staying, she said. An hour later, Amanda's phone rang. She answered, listened, face draining of color. When she hung up, her hands were shaking. That was the hospital's legal department. Someone filed a complaint against you, Lucia, claiming medical malpractice during Ethan's resuscitation. They're saying you had a conflict of interest, that your personal history with him compromised your judgment, and demanding an investigation. Lucia's stomach dropped. Who filed it? Anonymous tip to the Massachusetts Medical Board. But the timing, Amanda's jaw tightened. This is Marcus. He's trying to discredit you before you can testify. On what grounds? I followed every protocol. Saved his life. They're claiming you should have recused yourself due to prior relationship, that any doctor without personal involvement would have handled it differently. Amanda pulled up the complaint on her tablet. It's baseless, but it'll tie you up in hearings and reviews for months. Ethan emerged from his meeting, took one look at their faces, and demanded to know what happened. When Amanda explained, his fury was immediate. This is retaliation. Pure vindictive. He turned to Lucia. I'll hire the best medical malpractice defense attorneys in the country. We'll fight this. You can't. She forced herself to stay calm, even as her career flashed before her eyes. Any involvement from you strengthens their conflict of interest argument. I have to handle this alone. That's insane. You saved my life. And now someone's using that to destroy my credibility. She looked. This is Marcus, isn't it? He knows I'm the key witness to the poisoning. If he can make me look incompetent or biased, your testimony becomes questionable, Chen finished grimly. Juries trust doctors, unless those doctors have been flagged for ethical violations. The implications crystallized. Without Lucia's medical testimony, the prosecution's case weakened significantly. Vance could claim the champagne was innocent, that Ethan's collapse was Marcus could argue he was being framed by a vindictive ex-employee and a doctor with an axe to grind against her former fiancé. He's not just trying to escape, Amanda said slowly. He's building his defense. Discredit the witnesses, muddy the evidence, create reasonable doubt. Lucia's phone buzzed again. Her hospital director this time. The conversation was brief, professional, devastating. The medical board had requested she take administrative leave pending investigation, effective immediately. No patient contact, no testimony in ongoing legal matters until her conduct was cleared. She hung up, feeling numb. 8 years of medical school, 4 years of residency, 2 years of fellowship. Gone in a single anonymous complaint. This is temporary, Ethan said fiercely. We'll prove it's false. You'll do nothing. She grabbed her bag, checking for keys, wallet, phone. I'm going back to Boston. I'm going to cooperate with the investigation, clear my name, and then I'm going to bury Marcus Vanguard so deep he'll never see daylight again. Lucia, don't. She held up a hand. I need to think. Need to figure out how to save my career without compromising your case. And I can't do that here with you looking at me like she was something fragile, something that needed protecting. She'd built her entire adult life on not needing protection. Amanda touched her shoulder gently. The DA's office will support you, so will Ethan's attorneys. This won't stand. Maybe, but it'll take time. And while I'm fighting this, Marcus is out there planning his next move. Lucia looked at Ethan, memorizing his face in case this was the last time she saw it outside a courtroom. "You were right 5 years ago. We have terrible timing." She left before he could respond, before her resolve cracked. The hospital corridor stretched long and news traveled fast. By tomorrow, everyone would know. The cardiologist who saved her ex-fiancé, the doctor under investigation, the woman who couldn't separate professional from personal. Outside, Salem's autumn air bit cold. She found her car in the hospital lot, sat in the driver's seat, and finally let herself break. Not tears, just the slow, crushing weight of everything she'd built, crumbling because she'd done the right thing at the wrong time. Her phone buzzed over. Neither of us gives up that easily. She wanted to believe him, but belief required hope, and hope had just been flagged for ethical review. Call to action. What would you do if saving someone's life put your entire career at risk? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you're invested in Lucia and Ethan's story, hit that subscribe button, because this conspiracy goes deeper than anyone expected. Boston welcomed Lucia back with rain and paperwork. The medical board's investigation required documented evidence of every decision she'd made at the gala. Timestamps, justifications, proof that personal history hadn't clouded her medical judgment. She spent 3 days reconstructing the timeline. Every compression, every shock, every order given. Her apartment filled with medical journals, protocol manuals, expert opinions on emergency resuscitation. She barely slept. On day 4, her mentor from residency called. Doctor of cardiology at Mass Heart Center, voice carefully neutral. "Lucia, I'm required to inform you that the hospital's legal team is recommending termination pending investigation results. The board meets Friday." The words landed like physical blows. "Patricia, I fought for you. Argued that your conduct was exemplary, that you followed every protocol. But the board's concerned about liability. If this goes to a hearing and you're found at fault, I won't be. I didn't do anything wrong. I know that. You know that. But perceptions matter, institutional politics." The anonymous complaint included details only someone with medical knowledge would understand. Whoever filed this knows exactly how to make your actions look questionable. Lucia's mind raced. Marcus didn't have medical training, but Catherine Vance had worked closely with healthcare administrators through the foundation. She'd know the language, know what would trigger an investigation. "Vance wrote it," Lucia said. "As insurance. If she got caught, she could use this to weaken the prosecution's case." "Probably. But that doesn't change the board's position." Patricia hesitated. "There's another issue. Someone leaked your relationship history with Ethan Vale to the press. Medical journals are running op-eds about conflicts of interest. Patient advocacy groups are demanding stricter enforcement of recusal policies." Of course they were. Marcus had orchestrated this perfectly. Public pressure, professional consequences, personal humiliation, all designed to make Lucia radioactive as a witness. "When's the board meeting?" she asked. "Friday at 9 a.m. You can present your defense, but Lucia..." Patricia's voice softened. "Prepare for the worst. The hospital can't afford the liability of keeping you on staff if this becomes a legal battle." After hanging up, Lucia sat in her apartment's silence. Rain streaked the windows. Boston's skyline blurred into gray. Somewhere out there, Ethan was recovering under protective custody. Marcus was hiding with stolen millions. Vance was negotiating immunity, and she was about to lose everything she'd worked for. Her phone rang. Amanda's name. She almost didn't answer. "You need to see something," Amanda said without preamble. "I'm emailing it now." The file appeared, scanned pages from Marcus's handwritten ledger. But these weren't financial records. They were personal notes about Ethan. Medical appointments, therapy sessions after his mother's death, private conversations with doctors about his cardiac condition. And there, on page 6, a single line that made Lucia's blood run cold. "If Vale survives, eliminate the witness. Dr. Moreau's malpractice complaint ready to file." "He planned this before the gala." Amanda's voice was tight. "He knew you might save Ethan, so he prepared a backup. destroy your credibility to weaken the case. Vance must have helped him research my background, found the relationship history, drafted the complaint language. Lucia scrolled through the pages, more notes, details about Lucia's residency, her publications, her reputation. Marcus had premeditation. This proves that you were part of his murder plan from the beginning, not just Ethan, you too. Amanda's tone shifted to something harder. The DA wants this. It changes everything. But Lucia, Marcus's attorney is arguing the ledger's inadmissible, claiming it was obtained illegally during the office search, that it's hearsay, that the handwriting can't be definitively proven as Marcus's. Amanda paused. We have Vance's testimony, which Marcus's team is already attacking as a desperate plea deal, and your medical assessment, which is now under ethics review. The case is falling apart. Lucia closed her eyes. What about the security footage? The champagne, the fake server? Circumstantial. Marcus's lawyers are claiming Vance acted alone, that Marcus had no knowledge of her plans. They're painting him as a victim of his own assistant's schemes. Papers rustled on Amanda's end. And here's the worst part. The media's buying it. They're running stories about how a trusted employee betrayed her boss, how a greedy woman tried to kill a philanthropist for money. Marcus is being portrayed as sympathetic. That's insane. That's spin, and it's working. Amanda's frustration bled through. Ethan's furious. He wants to hold a press conference, tell the truth publicly. But his attorneys are advising against it, says so we do nothing while Marcus rebuilds his reputation. We wait for Chen to find him, and hope he makes a mistake. Amanda hesitated. Lucia, there's one more thing. The hospital board meeting Friday. Ethan wants to testify on your behalf, wants to explain exactly what you did, how you saved his life, why any suggestion of malpractice is absurd. Absolutely not. That's exactly what Marcus wants. More proof that I can't separate personal from professional. But if you don't let Ethan help, if you fight this alone, Amanda stopped. You could lose your medical license, not just your job, your entire career. The truth of it settled heavy. Friday wasn't just a board meeting. It was a referendum on everything she'd become. And Marcus had stacked the deck against her. Let me think about it, Lucia said finally. That night, she couldn't sleep. She replayed the gala in her mind. The darkness, Ethan's body under her hands, the bitter almond smell. Every choice she'd made had been right, medically sound, ethically clear. But none of that mattered if perception trumped reality. At 3 a.m., her phone buzzed. Text from Ethan. I know you told me to stay away, but I'm outside your building. Please let me come up. She should say no, should maintain boundaries, should protect what little remained of her professional credibility. She buzzed him in. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, hair uncombed, wearing jeans and a t-shirt instead of his usual tailored suits, human in ways she'd rarely seen. You shouldn't be here, she said. I shouldn't be alive. But you fixed that. He stepped inside, letting the door close behind him. I've been thinking about what you said about timing, about us always getting Ethan. What if the timing's finally right? What if we're supposed to fight this together instead of you bearing it alone? He moved closer, careful not to crowd her. 5 years ago, I pushed you away because I thought you needed to succeed without me. But maybe that was just cowardice dressed up as nobility. Maybe I was afraid of being the person you chose. This isn't about 5 years ago. This is about my career ending because I saved your life. Then let me save you. His voice carried quiet certainty. Let me testify Friday. Let me tell the board exactly what happened, how professional you were, how every other doctor in that ballroom froze while you acted. Let me be the witness who proves you did nothing wrong. Your testimony will make it worse. They'll say I influenced you, that you're biased, that I don't care what they say. He took her hands, the gesture achingly familiar. I care about you losing everything you've built because Marcus Vanguard is a monster. I care about standing by while you fight alone. I care about making the same mistake twice, pushing you away when you need someone. Lucia felt something crack in her chest. The armor she'd worn for 5 years, the independence she'd weaponized, the certainty that she didn't need anyone, all of it fracturing under the weight of his sincerity. "What if you testify and it doesn't help?" she whispered. "What if it makes me look weaker, more compromised? What if I lose anyway?" "Then we lose together, and we figure out what comes next. Together." He pulled her closer, resting his forehead against hers. "I'm done with cowardice, Lucia. Done with texts and silence and letting fear make my decisions. If you'll let me, I want to fight for you the way you fought for me in that ballroom." She kissed him. Not gentle this time, desperate, needing to believe that someone fighting beside her could make a difference. He responded immediately, hands framing her face, kiss deepening into something that felt like promise. When they broke apart, she was crying. Hadn't realized until tears wet their joined hands. "Okay," she said. "Okay, testify. Tell them the truth. And if we both go down, we go down swinging." He smiled, the expression transforming his exhausted face. "We're good at that. Always have been." They spent the rest of the night preparing, reviewing protocols, documenting timelines, building an airtight defense. As dawn broke over Boston, Lucia felt something she hadn't in days: hope. Maybe terrible timing could become perfect timing if they refused to give up. Maybe fighting together was exactly what they'd needed all along. Friday morning arrived with surgical precision. Lucia dressed in her most professional suit, pulled her hair into a neat bun, and drove to Mass Heart Center with Ethan beside her. Amanda met them in the lobby with Detective Chen and an unfamiliar woman in a severe blazer. "This is Special Agent Morrison from the FBI's Financial Crimes Division," Chen introduced. "She has information about Marcus's offshore accounts that changes everything." Agent Morrison opened her briefcase, pulling out documented evidence. "Mr. Vanguard didn't just steal from the Vail Foundation. He's been running a Ponzi scheme for 6 years using charitable foundations as fronts. We've identified 40 victims across 12 states. Total estimated theft, $400 million. The number was staggering. Lucia's malpractice complaint suddenly felt like a footnote in a much larger criminal enterprise. "The ledger you found?" Morrison continued. "It's one of 12. Marcus kept, including documentation of how he planned to silence anyone who discovered his schemes. Dr. Moreau, you're the third person he's tried to discredit using false ethics complaints." "Third?" Ethan's voice was dangerous. "A CPA in Nevada who noticed discrepancies in a homeless shelter's finances. A journalist in Oregon who started investigating. Both had their professional licenses suspended following anonymous complaints. Both eventually cleared, but only after months of fighting. By then, Marcus had moved his operations and disappeared the evidence." Morrison met Lucia's eyes. "He's perfected this technique, uses the system's own accountability mechanisms as weapons." "But you have proof now," Amanda said. "The pattern, the documentation. We have probable cause for federal charges, attempted murder across state lines. The Massachusetts Medical Board has already been notified that Dr. Moreau's complaint drawing the investigation." Relief crashed through Lucia so hard she had to sit down. Morrison knelt beside her chair. "Dr. Moreau, your medical judgment was sound. The board's preliminary review confirmed you followed. This complaint was malicious fiction designed to silence a witness. It has no merit." She pulled out another document. "They're prepared to issue a formal statement clearing you of any wrongdoing. Your medical license is secure." Tears pricked Lucia's eyes. Ethan's hand found her shoulder, squeezed tight with shared relief. "There's more," Chen added. "We arrested Marcus this morning. He was hiding in a Vermont cabin under a false name. Passport, $500,000 in cash, and a laptop containing backups of all his ledgers, including documentation of the poisoning plan." "You have him," Lucia breathed. "We have him. And thanks to Agent Morrison's work, we have charges that'll put him away for life even without the attempted murder conviction." Chen's smile was grim. "Though we're definitely pursuing that too. Catherine Vance agreed to testify in exchange for a reduced sentence. She's giving us everything. How Marcus recruited her, how they planned the gala poisoning, how he prepared the malpractice complaint as insurance." Amanda pulled up something on her tablet. The DA's office wants you both to review Vance's statement. Make sure the details match your recollections. They spent the next hour going through testimony. Vance had documented messages, voice recordings, even photos of the champagne glass before she dosed it. She'd been collecting evidence to protect herself if Marcus ever turned on her. Instead, she'd created the... Why did she do it? Lucia asked finally. $5 million? That's not enough to risk life in prison for murder. It wasn't just money, Morrison said. Marcus convinced her that Ethan was corrupt, that he was stealing from the foundations and framing Marcus to cover his own crimes. She believed she was helping stop a... That's insane, Ethan protested. That's manipulation. Marcus is a sociopath who's spent decades learning how to exploit people's trust, their moral certainty, their willingness to believe authority figures. Morrison closed her briefcase. Vance was a victim too, a willing participant who made terrible choices, but still manipulated by someone with no conscience. The board meeting happened at 10 a.m. Lucia walked into the conference room with Ethan, Amanda, Chen, and the board members looked uncomfortable. Clearly, they'd been briefed on the FBI investigation. Dr. Patricia Hendricks led the proceedings. Dr. Moreau, in light of evidence provided by federal authorities, this board has determined that the complaint against you was filed with malicious intent as part of a criminal conspiracy. We're dismissing it with prejudice and issuing a formal apology for any professional harm you've suffered. The words should have felt like victory. Instead, they felt like exhaustion finally catching up. Additionally, Patricia continued, we'd like to offer you the position of attending cardiologist, effective immediately. Your performance during the St. Mercy incident exemplifies the highest standards of emergency medicine. Mass Heart Center would be honored to have you lead our cardiac emergency protocols. Promotion. Not just clearing her name, but advancing her career. Lucia looked at Ethan, who was trying very hard not to smile. She said, "Thank you." After the meeting, they gathered in the hospital's courtyard. Amanda was already on her phone, coordinating with the DA's office about trial schedules. Chen was arranging protection details. Marcus might be in custody, but his network of corrupt associates wasn't fully mapped yet. Ethan pulled Lucia aside, away from the others. "You did it," he said softly. "Fought the entire system and won. We did it. Your testimony was ready if we needed it. Amanda's research, Chen's investigation, Morrison's evidence, none of us did this alone." She leaned against him, finally letting herself feel the weight of the last week. "I'm so tired." "Then let's go somewhere quiet. No hospitals, no investigators, no press. Just us figuring out what comes next." He tilted her chin up. "If you want there to be a next? I know I keep saying we have terrible timing, but..." "The timing's right," she interrupted. "Finally. Perfectly right. We've both grown up, both built careers we're proud of, both learned how to stand on our own. Now maybe we can learn how to stand together." "Is that a yes to dinner? Or something more?" "That's a yes to starting over, slowly, carefully, with actual conversations instead of text messages." She kissed him gently. "Think you can handle that?" "I can handle anything as long as you're with me." He grinned. "Though I'm drawing the line at another near-death experience. One poisoning per relationship is my limit." She laughed, the sound surprising her. After everything, the gala, the investigation, the threat to her career, she could still laugh. Could still imagine a future that didn't involve constant crisis. Amanda approached, tablet in hand. "Sorry to interrupt, but the media's requesting a statement. How do you want to handle this?" Lucia and Ethan exchanged glances. They could hide, let lawyers and PR teams control the narrative. Or they could tell their story on their own terms. "Joint statement," Lucia decided. "We thank law enforcement for their thorough investigation. We're grateful justice is being served, and we're looking forward to rebuilding what Marcus tried to destroy. Both the foundation and..." She looked at Ethan. "Everything else worth rebuilding." "Perfect," Amanda said. As she walked away, Morrison approached with one final piece of evidence. "Dr. Moreau, I thought you'd want this." She handed over a sealed envelope. Catherine Vance wrote you a letter. Her attorney approved it. You don't have to read it if you don't want to. Lucia opened it carefully. The handwriting was neat, almost childish. Dr. Moreau, I know sorry isn't enough. I helped someone try to kill a good man because I believed lies. I tried to destroy your career because I was following orders. I was wrong about everything. Watching you fight to save Ethan's life while I was running away made me realize what courage actually looks like. You didn't hesitate, didn't think about your own safety or history or anything except doing the right thing. I wish I'd been that brave. Thank you for saving him. And I'm sorry I tried to hurt you. Catherine Vance Lucia folded the letter, unsure what to feel. Anger? Forgiveness? Some complicated mixture of both? She's going to prison. Morrison, 15 years minimum, even with her cooperation. But she wanted you to know she understands what she did. Does understanding undo it? No, but it's a start. Morrison offered a card. If you ever need to talk to someone about what happened, therapist, victim's advocate, my office can help arrange that. After Morrison left, Ethan pulled Lucia close. You okay? I will be. She tucked the letter into her purse. Eventually, right now I just want to go home, sleep for 12 hours and wake up to a world where nobody's trying to kill anyone I care about. He kissed her forehead. My place or yours? Yours. Mine smells like medical journals and panic. She smiled. Also, your coffee maker is better. Practical reasons. I'll take it. He laced their fingers together, the gesture casual and perfect. Come on. Let's go start our new chapter. The one where They walked out of Mass Heart Center together, into Boston's autumn afternoon, into a future that finally felt possible. The trial began 3 months later in February. Commonwealth of Massachusetts versus Marcus Vanguard. 47 charges including fraud, conspiracy, and attempted murder. The courtroom packed with victims, journalists, and representatives from every foundation Marcus had. Lucia sat in the witness gallery beside Ethan, both dressed in formal suits prepared to testify. Amanda sat behind them, tablet ready with documentation. Detective Chen was somewhere in the building, coordinating security. The prosecution opened with devastating efficiency. They presented the ledgers, 12 notebooks documenting 6 years of systematic fraud. Handwriting analysis confirmed Marcus's authorship. Forensic accountants traced $400 million through shell companies, offshore accounts, and fake vendors. Then came victim testimony. The CPA from Nevada, whose career nearly ended over a false ethics complaint. The journalist from Oregon, who'd been professionally destroyed for asking questions. A dozen foundation directors who'd trusted Marcus, only to watch their charitable funds disappear. Each story built the same pattern. Marcus identified people who threatened his schemes, weaponized professional accountability systems against them, and disappeared before anyone could catch him. By day 3, the defense was scrambling. Their strategy: paint Marcus as a misunderstood businessman victimized by his own assistant's schemes, crumbled under the weight of documentation. The ledgers proved premeditation. The offshore accounts proved intent. The pattern of destroyed witnesses proved consciousness of guilt. Catherine Vance took the stand on day 4. She wore prison orange, hands cuffed, eyes downcast. The prosecutor walked her through everything. How Marcus recruited her, how he manipulated her into believing Ethan was corrupt, how they planned the gala poisoning down to the minute. Did Mr. Vanguard instruct you to file a malpractice complaint against Dr. Lucia Moreau? The prosecutor asked. Yes. He wrote it himself, actually. Said if Ethan survived, we needed to make sure the doctor who saved him couldn't testify effectively. Vance's voice was flat, emotionless. He gave me medical terminology to use, specific phrases that would trigger an investigation. He'd done it before. And did you understand this was part of a murder conspiracy? Vance faltered. I understood we were protecting ourselves. Marcus said Ethan would ruin us if we didn't act first. I believed him. Did you know the champagne was poisoned? Yes, I prepared it according to Marcus's instructions. Liquid cyanide in a vial, 10 milliliters mixed with champagne in minutes. The courtroom stirred. Marcus sat at the defense table, expression carefully blank. And the power outage? Who arranged that? Marcus. He studied the venue's electrical system for weeks, knew exactly which breaker to trip, exactly when to do it. The timing had to be perfect. Ethan needed to collapse in a crowd with maximum confusion. Vance's voice cracked. We planned to be gone before anyone figured out what happened. But Dr. Moreau saved him. Yes. Vance looked toward the gallery, meeting Lucia's eyes briefly. She did everything right. Everything I hoped wouldn't work. And then Marcus activated the backup plan, destroying her credibility so she couldn't testify. The defense's cross-examination was brutal, but tried to paint Vance as a liar seeking a plea deal, but her testimony matched too perfectly with the ledgers, the recordings, the documented timeline. On day 7, Lucia took the stand. She'd practiced this, staying clinical, focused on medical facts, avoiding emotional responses. But when the prosecutor asked her to describe Ethan's collapse, the memories hit viscerally. The lights went out at 9:47 p.m. I heard a body fall, different from someone stumbling or fainting, the sound of dead weight hitting hardwood. She kept her voice steady. I reached him within seconds. No pulse, no respiration, jaw clenched. I started CPR immediately. At that point, did you know who the patient was? No, it was too dark. I was focused on the compressions, hard, fast, maintaining depth and rhythm. When did you realize it was Ethan Vale? After someone shone a phone light on his face. We'd been engaged years before. I asked him immediately. She paused. My first thought was medical. Cardiac arrest requires continuous intervention. My second thought was medical. I needed an AED. Personal history didn't factor into clinical decisions. Did your relationship with Mr. Vale compromise your judgment? No, I followed ACLS protocols exactly. Any cardiologist in that room would have made the same choices, provided they had the training and willingness to act. She looked at the only thing my history with Ethan changed was that I didn't hesitate. I knew his medical background, knew he took beta blockers for arrhythmia. That information helped me assess the situation faster. You noticed something unusual during resuscitation. Can you describe that? Yes. As I performed compressions, I smelled bitter almonds. It's a classic indicator of cyanide poisoning. Not everyone can detect the scent, it's genetic. But I can. She explained the toxicology, the mechanism of action, why she'd immediately suspected foul play. That's why I insisted on specific lab work at the hospital. Standard cardiac arrest wouldn't present with that odor. Did you examine Mr. Vale's medical alert bracelet? Yes. While checking his pulse, I noticed the clasp had fresh scratches. Someone had removed it recently and replaced it. Given the timing and the almond smell, I suspected the bracelet might have been contaminated with poison. The prosecutor held up the bracelet, sealed in evidence. Testing confirmed trace amounts of liquid cyanide on the inner surface. Dr. Moreau, in your medical opinion, would Ethan Vale have survived without your immediate intervention? No. Cyanide acts quickly. The dosage he received would have been fatal within minutes without aggressive resuscitation. He coded 3 times, once in the ballroom, twice in the ambulance. Each time we revived him using standard emergency protocols. The speed of initial intervention was critical. And if you'd recused yourself due to personal history, he would have died while someone located another doctor willing to take charge in a chaotic, darkened ballroom. She met Marcus's eyes across the courtroom. That was the point, I assume. Create enough confusion that medical help arrives too late. The power outage was tactical. Marcus's attorney objected, claiming speculation. The judge overruled. Lucia continued, I can only speak to medical facts, but the timing suggests coordination. Someone knew Ethan would be standing in that location, knew when he'd consumed the poisoned champagne, knew exactly when to cut the lights for maximum chaos. She kept her tone professional. That level of planning indicates premeditation and insider knowledge. Ethan testified he described Marcus's betrayal with quiet fury, how he'd trusted him with his mother's legacy, how Marcus had access to every aspect of his life. He explained finding the accounting discrepancies, confronting Marcus, and the threat he'd received. He told me I'd regret investigating him. 3 weeks later, I nearly died at a charity gala he helped me plan. Ethan's voice carried across the courtroom. The only reason I survived was because Dr. Moreau happened to be there. Marcus couldn't have predicted that. Couldn't have known the one person with both the skill and the will to save me would be standing 20 feet away when I collapsed. If Dr. Moreau hadn't been present, what do you believe would have happened? I'd be dead. Marcus would have inherited control of $3 billion, and hundreds of charities would have continued losing funding while he stole from the most vulnerable people in our society. This wasn't just attempted murder. It was attempted theft from orphans, homeless shelters, medical research facilities, schools. Every dollar he stole was meant to help people who have nothing. He robbed them without conscience. The defense tried to break him on cross-examination, questioned his business practices, his relationship with Vance, his decision to fire Marcus without board approval. But Ethan held firm, answering every question with documented evidence. On day 9, the defense called Marcus to the stand. A calculated risk, but his only chance. Marcus presented himself as a devoted employee betrayed by his own assistant. Claimed ignorance of Vance's schemes. Said the ledgers were fabricated, the offshore accounts were misunderstood investments. The poisoning was Vance acting alone out of unrequited obsession. She was in love with me, Marcus testified, voice smooth and practiced. When I rejected her advances, she became vindictive, started stealing from the foundation, planting evidence against me, planning to frame me for her crimes. The prosecutor's cross-examination destroyed him. Mr. Vanguard, if Ms. Vance was acting alone, why does your handwriting appear in 12 ledgers documenting crimes spanning 6 years? Those aren't mine. The handwriting analysis is flawed. Then why do your fingerprints appear on every page? Marcus hesitated. I may have handled them. That doesn't mean I wrote them. The ones with $400 million traced directly from charitable foundations? Those were legitimate investment accounts. The money was always intended to return to the foundations. Then why did you withdraw $500,000 in cash the day before attempting to flee the country? I wasn't fleeing. I was taking a planned vacation. To Vermont, under a false name. With fake identification, the prosecutor held up evidence. Mr. Vanguard, we have documentation proving you've used this false identity for 3 years. We have rental agreements, bank accounts, and travel records. This wasn't a vacation. This was an escape plan you'd prepared long before Ms. Vance allegedly betrayed you. Marcus's composure cracked. You're twisting everything. I'm presenting facts. Facts documented in your own hands. Facts supported by forensic evidence, financial records, and witness testimony from 47 victims. The prosecutor leaned forward. Facts that prove you spent 6 years systematically defrauding charities, destroying anyone who discovered your crimes, and attempting to murder Ethan Vale when he threatened to expose you. That's not, I never tried to kill anyone. Then explain the ledger entry dated 3 weeks before the gala, the one that reads, Vale confronted me today, final option, eliminate at St. Mercy event. Vance will handle execution. Power failure covers escape. If he survives, discredit Moreau. The prosecutor held up the page. Your plan? Your crime. Marcus said nothing. Couldn't. The evidence was overwhelming. When they returned, their verdict was unanimous on all 47 counts. Guilty. The courtroom erupted. Victims wept. Journalists rushed to file. Ethan pulled Lucia close, burying his face in her hair. Amanda pumped her fist victoriously. Detective Chen nodded with grim satisfaction. Marcus sat motionless as bailiffs cuffed him. His expression was finally, completely blank. The performance was over. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. The judge, a woman in her 60s who'd spent 30 years on the bench, delivered it with cold precision. Mr. Vanguard, you exploited the trust of good people to enrich yourself. You stole from organizations dedicated to helping the vulnerable. You destroyed careers to cover your crimes. And when Ethan Vale discovered your fraud, you attempted to murder him in cold blood. She adjusted her glasses. The law allows me to impose multiple life sentences for your crimes. I'm doing so consecutively, without possibility of parole. You will spend the rest of your natural life in federal prison. Bailiff, remove the defendant. As Marcus was led away, he looked back once. His eyes found Lucia's. No remorse, no apology, just calculation even in defeat, as if he were memorizing her face for some future scheme that would never come. Then he was gone. 6 months after the trial, Ethan reopened the Vail Foundation with unprecedented transparency. Every transaction publicly documented, independent auditors reviewing quarterly, board seats filled by people with no financial connection to him. The $400 million Marcus had stolen was recovered and redistributed. Scholarships resumed, medical research grants funded, homeless shelters received overdue payments. The St. Mercy Orphanage began construction on their new medical wing. Lucia attended the groundbreaking ceremony in Salem. The same ballroom where Ethan had nearly died now hosted celebration instead of conspiracy. But this time, the lights stayed on. Dr. Moreau. The orphanage director rushed over, embracing her warmly. We can never thank you enough. Without you, none of this would have been possible. I was just doing my job, Lucia demurred. You saved a good man's life. That's more than a job. That's a gift. The director pressed a small box into her hands. From the children. They wanted you to have this. Inside was a simple silver bracelet engraved with words. You gave us hope. Thank you for fighting. Lucia's throat. She slipped it on, feeling the weight settle against her wrist. A reminder that medicine wasn't just protocols and procedures. It was human connection, lives saved, futures restored. Ethan found her on the orphanage's new playground, watching children test the equipment. He carried 2 cups of coffee, handing her one. The director told me they gave you something, he said. She showed him the bracelet. He read the inscription, smiled softly. Accurate. You did give them hope. Gave me hope too. We gave each other hope. She leaned against him, comfortable in the familiarity they'd rebuilt over months of careful dating. Real conversations, honest vulnerability, no texts. Think your mother would approve? Of the foundation? Definitely. She'd be proud. He paused. Of us? She'd probably say we took the scenic route, but at least we got there eventually. The scenic route included murder conspiracies and ethics investigations, not exactly romantic. But memorable. He set down his coffee, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Which brings me to something I've been wanting to ask. Lucia's heart stopped. Ethan, I know we said slow. I know we're still figuring things out. But 6 months of dating you again has reminded me of something I forgot 5 years ago. You're the best decision I've ever almost made. He opened the box, revealing a simple diamond ring. Nothing ostentatious. Just elegant and perfect. Lucia Moreau, will you give me another chance to get this right? Will you marry me? She looked at the ring. Looked at him. Thought about the woman she'd been at 26. Ambitious. Afraid of compromise. Running toward a career she needed to claim alone. Thought about the woman she was now at 31. Still ambitious but no longer afraid. Strong enough to choose partnership without losing herself. Yes, she said. But I'm keeping my name, and my job, and my apartment. I wouldn't expect anything less. He slipped the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. We'll figure out the details. Together. Together, she agreed. But Ethan, if you ever break up with me via text again, you'll let me die next time I get poisoned. I know. Fair terms. He grinned, pulling her close. Good thing I'm planning to stick around for the next 50 years at minimum. They kissed in the orphanage playground, surrounded by children's laughter and the sound of construction, building something new from the ashes of what Marcus had tried to destroy. Later, back in Boston, Lucia returned to Mass Heart Center. Her new office overlooked the city, a corner space reflecting her promotion to attending physician children, photos of her and Ethan from the foundation's reopening, and a framed letter from the Massachusetts Medical Board, formally clearing her of all charges and commending her exemplary conduct. Doctor, got a minute? There's someone who wants to meet you. A young woman entered, late 20s, nervous energy, residence badge visible. Dr. Moreau, I'm Dr. Simmons, emergency medicine. I just wanted to say, she took a breath. I heard about what you did at the Salem Gala, how you fought through chaos and saved someone's life while people stood around filming, and then how you fought to clear your name when someone tried to destroy your career. You're the reason I went into medicine, to be someone who acts when everyone else freezes. Lucia felt emotion tighten her chest. This was why she'd become a doctor. Not for recognition, but for moments like this. Inspiring the next generation. Thank you, she said simply. Just promise me something. When you face your moment, and you will face it eventually, don't hesitate. Trust your training. Trust yourself. Remember that doing the right thing isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. Dr. Simmons nodded, eyes bright, and left with renewed purpose. Patricia lingered in the doorway. You've become something of a legend around here. The cardiologist who saved Irisi. I just did my job. Chen caught Marcus. Morrison built the case. Vance's testimony sealed it. I was one part of a much larger team. Modesty doesn't suit you, Lucia. You were the catalyst. Everything else followed because you refused to let an innocent man die. Patricia smiled. Your mother would be proud. After she left, Lucia sat alone in her office, looking out at Boston's evening skyline. Lights flickering on as darkness settled. Each window a life, a story, a possibility. Her phone buzzed. Text from Ethan. Dinner at 7? I'm cooking. Badly, probably, but with enthusiasm. She smiled, typing back. I'll bring wine and low expectations. 5 years ago, they'd been wrong for each other. Timing misaligned, priorities conflicting, too young to know how to fight for something without losing themselves. Now they were right. Not perfect. Perfection was a myth. But right. Grown up enough to choose partnership without sacrifice. Strong enough to weather conspiracies and trials and professional attacks. Brave enough to try again, despite past failure. The moral was simple. Courage isn't about never falling. It's about standing up again, brushing off the dirt and walking forward into whatever comes next. Sometimes alone, sometimes together, but always with integrity and tact. As she packed up her office for the evening, Lucia glanced at the bracelet on her wrist. You gave us hope. The children's words echoed. But they'd given her something too, a reminder that saving one life could change hundreds. That fighting for truth mattered, that second chances were possible if you were brave enough to take them. She left Mass Heart Center, stepped into Boston's autumn evening, and headed toward the future. One that included love, medicine, justice, and the simple courage to keep showing up even when the lights went out. Because in the end, that was all anyone could do. Show up, do the work, save the lives within reach, and trust that it was enough. It was always enough. If this story resonated with you, drop a comment below. What would you do if someone tried to destroy your career for doing the right thing? Would you fight back or walk away? And if you loved Lucia and Ethan's journey from betrayal to redemption, hit that subscribe button. We post new emotional stories every week. Tales of courage, justice, second chances, and love that refuses to give up. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes be brave enough to fight for what matters. See you in the